Many people know the word rate? You've heard it before. Yeah, I hope so. What does it mean to you? Can somebody give me an example of a rate? Nice. 1 out of 10. Yep. What else? What's another rate? I want you to turn to the person beside you and quickly discuss with them what they think a rate is, or give an example of rate or something like that. Okay, go. Okay, what'd you come up with? The rate of a number. What do you mean by that? Okay, not sure. That's okay. What else? What did you discuss? Or what did your partner say? Wake up, wake up. What is a rate? What rate do you pay when you go to the movies? Huh? Yeah, you do pay taxes on top of it, but you pay a certain amount of money for a ticket. And don't we talk about that? Like, what's the rate? Yeah, $13. Yeah. What about the rate at which you travel while you're in a car or in a bus or in an airplane or running? Is that a rate? What do we call that rate? Jacob, what do you think? Oh, I like it. Kilometers per hour. And that's like speed. So speed is a rate. So Justin said movies maybe cost like $13. That's probably about right. Sometimes they're more expensive, sometimes they're less. So $13 per ticket. Or maybe they have a special rate that's $50 for 5 tickets. That would be a rate, right? $50 for 5 tickets. Yep. Ah, nice. Your pay rate. So I might say I made 16. I meant to write $60 in 5 hours. That's what a rate means. It's a comparison of two values. Technically speaking, we don't really care about this, but they have different units. Kilometers is one of the units. Hours is another. Those are different units. So we call that a rate. That's not something you need to know. I'm never going to ask you to define what a rate is. But we do compare this to, let's say, a ratio of students to teacher in a classroom. You're comparing people to people, so we call that a ratio as opposed to a rate. Again, you don't have to worry about using the different words correctly, but it just turns out they do have different ones. But when we're talking rates, we're usually talking about sort of different units. We're often talking speed. We're often talking money, those kinds of things. There are other rates, absolutely, but those are the ones that come up a lot. A unit rate. put a double underline under that one. This is super important. The value in the denominator is 1. So a speed example from above might have been 200 kilometers in 2 hours. So the unit rate would be 100 kilometers in 1 hour, or 100 kilometers per hour. That's a unit rate when the bottom is 1. How many people in here are familiar with the unit rate? You've seen these things before. This is how we present rates in the real world often. In fact, when Justin shared his rate, when Noah shared his rate, what they shared was unit rates because they're so common. Noah said the amount you make per hour is a unit rate. But you could also talk about the amount you make in 5 hours, which would just be a different kind of rate. $60 in 5 hours is $12 per hour. Less than minimum wage now, so you can't even make that much anymore. That used to be pretty good. When I was a kid, I would have been happy making that amount. $50 for 5 tickets is $10 per ticket. Okay? So that was like what Justin said. $13 for a ticket. That's a rate for a movie ticket. $13 per ticket. So that right there is a unit rate. $13 for 1 ticket. And then, you know, we complicate things in the real world where if you buy 5 tickets, you pay less per ticket than if you just buy 1 ticket. They bundle things together. You've all seen this before. Unit rates are really useful. You don't have to write this down. We'll maybe write it down later. You could write it down now or write it down later, I guess. Useful for comparing rates. So if you are asked to compare 2 rates, which is a big part of what we're going to do over the next few days, you might choose a unit rate to do so. Okay? What was I going to say? They don't always compare with unit rates, sometimes, but they get a common comparison. Okay? So if I am, like, if we look at this, a can, which is $3.50, costs $1.05, or a large bottle that is 1,000 milliliters costs $2.50. Which one would you rather be buying? And before you answer that question, you may have a gut feeling about it. And in fact, if I polled the room, I bet some people would pick the can and some people would pick the bottle. And people had different reasons. Because sometimes our gut feelings are wrong, quite frankly. Or sometimes they're based on something else other than the math. But the reason why it's hard to tell for sure is because these are different amounts. And 350 doesn't clearly go into 1,000, so it's hard to do the mental math to see which one is better. Some people probably think, well, bottle is usually better, right? Usually if you buy a large bottle, 1,000 liters, or a 2-liter bottle, it's a better deal. So I'm going to go with that. But not always. In fact, I'm going to show you an example a little bit later, or maybe tomorrow, where it doesn't work out that way, okay? And so it's kind of interesting that that we can't just go based on our gut that way when we're in math class. We're going to do the math and compare. So did you know, how many people go to the does anybody go to the grocery store very often? Probably when you were younger, you went with your parents a lot. Now that you're older, you stay home. Your parents go by themselves. But has anybody been to a grocery store lately? Or even, yeah, okay, good. So you know how they have the tag with the price? You know what else they have on that? It's really small, but they will have the cost for 100 milliliters or 100 grams. And it'll be like 0.02 or something like that. Next time I'm at a grocery store, I'll take a picture and I'll check it. Hi. Come on in. Sure. No, we're good. Thanks. But if you know to look for it, you can see it, and you can compare two products and see which one's cheaper for the same amount. So you don't even have to do the math yourself. You can see which one's cheaper. Or if you're buying the same product, bigger bottle, like Advil or headache medicine is a big one for this because it's pretty expensive. You get a small bottle that's got 50 pills in it, or a big bottle that's got like 500 pills, and then you can compare how much cheaper it is, like per pill or per amount. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, so let's take a look at these examples. Now I'm going to give you a little tip or a little heads up. This is exactly the kind of question that you will often see on EQAO when we write EQAO at the end of the year. So we're going to do a lot of practice that looks like EQAO, so we're familiar with it at the end of the year. And there's a big multiple choice section, and this is a type of question that you might see on EQAO in the multiple choice. Table below shows information about the cost of different pop bottle sizes. So a can, a small bottle, a large bottle, and a 2-liter bottle. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the unit cost for each and compare them. So we're going to compare with a unit price, and we're going to divide, in this case, the cost by the volume for each of them. Now, the nice thing about multiple choice is showing your work for EQAO, or if you have multiple choice in this course, showing your work doesn't matter. You can show your work however you want. But just for the sake of the lesson, I'm going to write it out a little bit. So a can is $1.05 divided by 350. I'm just going to move it over so it lines up nicely. Oops. A small bottle is $2.25, and you can start doing the division yourself on your calculator. Divided by 750. 250 divided by 1,000, and $4 divided by 2,000. Does anything about this jump out to anyone? What do you notice about the large bottle and the 2-liter bottle? Ashton? How do you know that without doing the math? Yeah. But what about it makes you think that it's not as good a deal? I think there's something specific. Do you hear what he's saying? The 2-liter bottle is exactly twice the size of the liter bottle. 2,000 milliliters versus 1,000 milliliters. That's proportions right there. That's what we were talking about yesterday. So 2 large bottles would give you 1 extra large bottle, and that would cost $5, which is more than $4. So right away, I know the large bottle is not going to work. And very often you'll see in multiple choice, you can cross one of the answers out and we know it's wrong. But in this case, the math is pretty easy, so I'm just going to do it. 1.05 divided by 350. Has anybody done this one already? Did you get 0.003? Okay, let's try the next one. 2.25 divided by 750. Same thing. Somehow I think that's not going to be the answer because then you'd have 2 answers that are the same. 250 divided by 1,000. 0.0025. Yes? Yep. 0.2. 4.00. I think we're missing a 0 in there, though. Whoops, I did that wrong. 4.00 divided by 2,000. You might have done 400 cents. I don't know. Yeah, which is fine, but we want to make sure they're all in cents or all in dollars. Which one's the cheapest? Is it hard to tell with decimals? My son is in grade 4. He's learning about decimals right now, and he's not quite figured out the place value of decimals. It's tricky, but you guys have seen it for a long time. So which one's cheapest? We already knew that the 2-liter bottle would have to be cheaper. This is like 0.002. This is 0.0025. This is 0.0030, 25 and 20. So the 2-liter bottle is the cheapest. Questions about that? Okay, let's try another one. What's different about this one? The table below shows the price per case of pop at different stores. But what do you notice about the cases of pop? Justin? Yeah, they're different sizes. Very good. Obviously, I hope we know that's super important. That the different cases are different sizes. Herman is buying 72 cans of pop. Maybe he's having a party and he wants to buy 72 cans of pop. At which store should he buy his pop so that he pays the least? So this time we're not looking for the unit price, although the unit price would tell me which one's cheapest. It wouldn't tell me how much they cost. So in this case, we're going to find the cost for 72 for each to compare the costs. How do I find a cost for 72? Well, I'm going to do this. For cheapies, I'm going to do cheapies first right here. If it's $2.75 for 6 cans, see I'm using a proportion like from yesterday. What's on top? Dollars. What's on bottom? Cans. I want to know for 72 cans, so I want that on the bottom. And then I can put X on top or something like that. Again, showing your work for multiple choice doesn't matter as much. We're just trying to find the answer. Who remembers the strategy that we used to solve proportions from yesterday? Ashton, what did we do? A line through the two numbers. Very good. And what do I do with it? So 275 times 72. And then? Very nice. Remember that? Divide it by 6. So we're going to do that for all 4 of them. We got to make sure we know which one's which. 5.00 for 12 is how many for 72? 7.49 for 18 is how many for 72? 9.99 for 24 is how much for 72? I want you to try to fill in at least a few of those. Okay, and I'm going to do the same. wrote all the steps so you could see my thinking and make sure you follow what I do. But yeah, some of you aren't writing it down for everyone. You don't have to. That's right. It's multiple choice. You don't have to. Just make sure you understand what you're doing. Maybe somebody do the third and the fourth, and then we'll share our answers, because I see a few people have already done second and the third. Who's got the cost of the first one? Noah? $33. A lot of people got that. The second one, Food Smart. Somebody else? Ashton? 30? Anybody else get that? Jamarlene? Did you get something else? You got 40? I did see a couple people with different answers. I'll try it. 5 times 72 divided by 12. 30 looks right. I don't know, maybe it's a typo, right? Sometimes we type it into our calculator wrong. The third one, who's got the third one? Somebody other than Noah or Ashton, because they already shared. Kel. 29.96. Is that right? Thank you. I saw other people with that answer as well, I think. And the last one, Walker, did you do the last one? Didn't get it all the way done? Okay. Who did get it done? Marley? 29.97. Woo, close. Very close. So what can we conclude? Which one's cheapest? Jade, what do you think? Do you know which one came from which? Which one is cheapest? Which number is smallest? Go ahead. That one. And I believe that came the $7.49 from here, right? So it looks like Variety Foods is cheaper. Now, if Super Grocers was closer, I'd probably go there and pay the extra penny. I mean, even an extra 4 cents for the $30 one if it's closer. Obviously, in real life, there are different things that come into play. But if we're looking at the cost for 72 pops, there you have it. Everybody good with that? So we saw using a unit rate to solve a problem. We saw using a proportion or a different kind of rate to solve a problem. Let's try another question. And I'm going to give you a chance to get this one started on your own. Amy and Kristen buy food for a fundraiser. 1 case of 18 hot dogs costs $29. 1 case of 6 drinks costs $8. How much will the food for 72 meals cost if each meal is made up of 2 hot dogs and 1 drink? There's a lot going on in this question. I'm going to give you a second to get it started and think about it. And then we'll start doing some of it together. You can chat with somebody close to you too if you want to. You could try to do this problem together with a partner. It would be fun. Or if you think you can get started on your own, you can do that too. Something that Walker pointed out is, hey, 2 hot dogs per meal, 72 meals, what does that mean? That's something we have to think about. It might be simple, but that's something we need to think about. What does that mean? Come on, somebody help me out here. How many hot dogs do we need? The price of 2 hot dogs? You could figure out the price of 2 hot dogs and multiply that by 72. I bet is what Jamarli's thinking. Yeah. What else could I do? Put your pencil down and listen for a minute. This is important. This might be simple, but the fact that nobody's answering concerns me a little bit. If I'm making 72 meals and it's 2 hot dogs per meal, how many hot dogs do I need? I don't even care about the exact answer, but how'd you get that? Okay, so I'm going to write this down just to be clear. You wouldn't have to, but we need 72 times 2 hot dogs. Now, Jamarli already pointed out the order in which you calculate this stuff doesn't matter. So some people might find the price for 72 hot dogs and multiply that by 2. Or find the price of 2 hot dogs and multiply that by 72. Like, there's different ways that you could do this. But we need 72 times 2 hot dogs, which is 144. And we need 72 drinks. So to find the total cost, I have to find the total cost of 144 hot dogs and the cost of 72 drinks. And then what do I do? Okay, hold on. Don't give me the answer yet. What do I do when I find the cost of the hot dogs and the cost of the drinks? To find the total cost. This should be a straightforward question too. Aaliyah, what do you think? We are going to do that to find those costs. Yep, absolutely. I'm going to set that up in a minute. Okay, let's try it. This is how I'm going to do it. You might do it a different way. I'm going to say it's $29 for 18 hot dogs. So how much is it for 144? Because I want 144 hot dogs. See how many levels to this question there are, though? There's a lot going on. And Aaliyah, what you meant is, I think, you multiply those and then divide to find this. Very good. 29 times 144 divided by 18. I'm also going to say it costs $8 for 6 hot dogs. So how much does it cost for 72 hot dogs? And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to find both those answers. Is this 232? Anybody get that? And that's 96. Did anybody get that? Okay. I don't see 232 or 96 in the answers. What do I have to do? Jacob? Add them together. So the total cost is the cost of hot dogs plus the cost of the drinks. I got 328. Is that right? Anybody else get that? And look, that's one of our answers. Any questions about any of this? Is everybody okay with that? That's a very typical EQAO kind of question with all those different parts. It's not just straightforward. Put your pencil down. I just want to show you something. Now, there's no guarantee. This question was made up by another teacher, but there's no guarantee that this will happen. But EQAO often does this. I calculated the cost for 144 hot dogs. What if I only did 72? That would be 29 over 18 is x over 72. What if I forgot that there were 2 hot dogs per meal? So that would be 29 times 72 divided by 18. That would give me 116. And then the cost of the drinks is still 96. If I add those together, what do I get? Oh, it's not there. I get 212. On EQAO, and I'll talk about this again and again and again. On EQAO, that answer would often be in the list. So if you made a small mistake, but everything else you did was right and you got an answer, you'd see it there. Just because you get an answer doesn't, and it's in the list, doesn't mean it's right in EQAO. They try to trick us, unfortunately. So just be a heads up for that. Okay? Be very careful that just because you get a number, you can't say, oh, it's in there, that must be right. Not necessarily. Okay? Just be a bit careful. All right. Ooh, here's another tricky one. Oh, you guys don't have this one. There it is. A grocery store sells Healthy Start cereal in 2 different size boxes as shown below. Small box and a large box. And unfortunately, they give us the costs in wonky ways. Now, I already told you, if you were at the grocery store, you could just look at the tag carefully and you would be able to see which one's cheaper. But we're going to calculate it. What is the difference in the cost of 200 grams of cereal in these boxes? What does it mean by what's the difference? This is another common EQAO question. What does it mean by what's the difference? Anybody? What do you think we should do for this question? When it says open response, by the way, it means show your work. We have to show our work for this one. We're quiet today. So if I want to know the cost for 200 grams, we're going to have to find that. So I'm going to help you with the small box, and I'm going to see if you can do the large box. Small box. It costs 0.0072 for 1 gram, because that's what it says there, per gram, per 1 gram. So what do I want to write over here? No? You sure? What do I want to write in the other one? Marley? 200 on the bottom. And I can put X or something on top, or A or G for gram, or C for cost, whatever you want. D for dollars, whatever you want. And we're going to solve that, and you know how to solve that. So I want you to solve that one. Whoops, large. And I want you to set up and solve the large. On EQAO, when it says show your work, it means if you calculate something on your calculator, you should write it down. So if a number just appears out of nowhere, but you do the rest in your head, you might lose marks for that. So be careful. Part of what we're doing in this course is learning how to show our work. A lot of people got the answers to those two parts. Okay. Whoops. What'd you get for the first one? Somebody help me out with the small box. Savannah, did you get the small box done? What'd you get? 1.44. And what about the large box? Raquel, what'd you get for the large box? Very nice. 5.20 times 200 divided by 460. I had a conversation over here. Take a look at that number. Nasty number. So what do we do with it? It's money. So we round it to the nearest penny, right? So 2 decimal places. So just like Raquel told us, it should be 2.26. Now, are we done? We're not done. What is the difference in the cost of 200 grams of cereal in these two boxes? Jade, what does it mean by difference? Tell me what you tell everybody what you told me. It's about $1. It's not exactly $1. It's about $1. Very nice. How did Jade figure that out? And how can we calculate it exactly? Can somebody else explain that? How do you think Jade did that? What does it mean by what's the difference? What she might have thought was, what do I add on to the smaller number to get up to the bigger number? That's the difference between two things, right? But what's another way of thinking about that? Jamarly, were you going to say something? I saw a lot of people doing this, 2.26 divided by 1.44. That's going to tell us how many times 1.44 goes into 2.26. I don't think that's going to give us the difference. How do I find the difference? Savannah, what do you think? Subtraction. That's how you find the distance between two numbers or the difference between two numbers. So in these questions where you're finding the difference, we're often going to subtract in our last step. And I get 0.82. Jade, you were right. 82 cents exactly, but that's pretty close to $1. Okay? So therefore, I'm going to say the small box is cheaper. That's unusual. Maybe there's a sale. The small box is cheaper. It didn't really tell me to say this, but by 82 cents. We okay? Okay, on the back, there's one more. I want you to try that one. It's very similar. it's saying the same kind of thing. How much less would 26 limes cost at store B than store A? So you're going to find store B is cheaper, but you have to find how much cheaper for 26 limes. So it's very similar. Do the same thing. I'm going to hand, and then there's some practice as well that you can do in MSIP. It's mostly multiple choice, so it won't take you that long. Okay, there is some open response on the back, but I'm not going to ask you to do all of that. Although you could get more practice in. And we'll take this up before the end of the period, and we will maybe have a little bit of time. So try that second question on the back. All right, a lot of people are wrapping this up. This is practice. No, that's the lesson. So I give it to you. Practice. Or at least you can buy how much. There is another way you could do this. You can find the unit price for each. How would I find the unit price? 468. I'm just going to do it right here. If I did 468 divided by 9, I take the amount for 9 limes and divide by 9. That's going to give me the cost for 1 lime. So 4.68 divided by 9 gives me 0.52. And 5.52 divided by 12 gives me 0.46. So I can see it is cheaper per lime at store B. How would I find the cost of 26 limes? Take the unit price and multiply by 26. You're doing the same thing as if you solved it with a proportion. And it looked like people used proportions, which is great. You're doing the same thing, just in a slightly different way, but you end up multiplying and dividing just the same. So it's up to you. Some people like unit rates, and they're very powerful. They're very useful. So if you're good at thinking about unit rates and calculating unit rates, go for it. Just make sure you show your work. But using proportions like this, a lot of people like it too because it always works whether you're talking unit rates or other things. Okay, so I got 1352. I saw a lot of people get that answer. I got 1196. I saw a lot of people get that answer. And what do? We subtract them, and I got the difference between the two is $1.56. Who else got that? Nice. Yeah, a few more of you were done and got $1.56. Fantastic.